You are doing something good, but you can't have that false confidence because he always finds a way to sneak in there. And that's exactly what happened. Hey there, and welcome to my channel. This collaboration was started by Laura from What Laura Likes, and the other YouTubers involved are Hey Jess Chambers, The Crunchy Catholics, and Mary S. I would recommend that you go and check out their channels, which will be linked below. There's a playlist set up so you can see all of our videos on this week's topic, which is books. My video this week is going to be less of a visually motivating video and more of me sharing what is on my heart in hopes that that will inspire you to go through the books in your home and clean them up. On to the story. When I first met my husband, he had a 4-year-old little girl, and I remember he said that they didn't have a TV. And I was intrigued. I thought, wait, seriously, you don't show your child television in your home? Like, how do you get things done? How do you live? What? And once I talked to him more about it, I agreed that that's the way we should go. So when we got married and we moved into our home, we didn't have a TV, with exception of a broken TV that's hanging up in our living room, but the previous owners left that and we don't use it, so it doesn't count. So there I am, giving myself a pat on the back because I'm so happy that our child is into reading. I mean, she doesn't have a cell phone, she doesn't have an iPad or any technology that she has access to in our home. And everybody's talking about that right now. You know, kids shouldn't be on tablets, they shouldn't be watching TV, they should go outside, get fresh air. And that's what she does, and she reads books. So here we have this wonderful child who has this love of reading. And I'm thinking, woo, my job is gonna be easy going into the next few years because what do I have to monitor? She likes books. This is great. But that's how the devil gets ya, doesn't he? He makes you think you're doing something good. You are doing something good, but you can't have that false confidence because he always finds a way to sneak in there. And that's exactly what happened. I can't remember when it first started, but I noticed our daughter's attitude getting very just different. I can't really explain it, just more moody, more grumpy, more defiant, more rude. And I couldn't really pinpoint exactly what it was. We were able to identify a few things and relationships that were causing this to happen, and when we made those adjustments, it got a lot better. But I noticed in particular a connection between her book reading and her behavior. And I noticed she started mentioning things, and I think, where'd she come up with that thought? And then I peek and see the book she was reading. Oh, it was on this topic or that topic. And they were very harmless, regular kids books. I forget the first couple things that happened, but we had some sort of incident where there was a book and we didn't really like what it was about or what was in it and what was happening, and we had a little bit of a disagreement with some extended family about the books because we didn't agree with them. They thought it was okay, and so there was disagreement there. And in my head I thought, you know what, I know that books have an impact on the mind. I know it's important to monitor children's book usage, even though books are good, and I'm very glad that she's reading a book versus being on the internet and I have no idea what she's accessing. There's still a degree of parenting that you have to do even with books. Anyway, so we started identifying a few books that we didn't really like, but there was nothing majorly wrong with them, just a lot of attitude stuff. There were certain series of books that we told her, you know what, we don't want you bringing home these books from school, we don't want you reading them. We just don't believe in some of the stuff that's in them. And she didn't really understand, but you know, you move on. Anyway, I know that a lot of people are critical of parents being like helicopter parents, monitoring everything that a child does. And so I tried to be as open-minded as I could with the whole book thing and not, you know, completely dictate all the books she reads and everything she looks at. Well, this one day, I kept noticing throughout the day, she was mentioning that she wanted the power to go out. And she'd kind of giggle and say, I just want the power to go out. I can't wait till the power goes out. And I'm thinking, it's like kind of a random thing to desire. And we were joking and I said, you know, you could just turn out the lights and get the same effect. But so we were laughing and I'm thinking like, I wonder how that got on her mind So bizarre. And just get ready, this is the pinnacle of my whole problem, okay? So then we're sitting down at dinner the same day that she kept talking about wanting a power outage. And she said it again, I really want a power outage, ha ha ha. So finally I noticed that the book she was reading was called The Big Blackout. And judging by the cover, it looked like two kids and they had flashlights, so there must have been a power outage. And I thought, ah, okay, that's where she got it. And then it really stuck in my head, you know what? Books are very important, because all I know is that she's been reading a book about a power outage, and that's all that's on her mind. And she didn't tell me anything about, you know, the book or anything, but all she's been talking about is power outages. And I noticed it with other books she's been reading too. Stuff that's in the book, she'll make comments, and it's almost like it's coming to life. So then we're sitting there at family dinner, and she goes, yeah, I really want the power to go out so we can play this game. And she kept talking about this game she wanted us to play, and I said, well, what's the game? And she goes, Ouija board. And I'm like, whoa, 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 what? I think my husband and I just put down everything we were eating and wait, what? Can you spell it? And she goes and spells out Ouija board. And I go, Ouija board? And she goes, yeah, I want to play that game with you. And I didn't even, where do you even begin when somebody, a little 9-year-old girl asks you to play a Ouija board as a family game? I just, in my mind, I didn't even know where to begin. And I'm thinking, no way, there's no way where'd she come up with this? And I said, what do you mean? And she opens up the book, and there's this page, and these kids are playing a Ouija board. I'll show you the book right now if you don't believe me. It is the Judy Moody series. This is what it looks like. Look, harmless book, right? There's shout out to my ring light. He's probably just telling a scary story. You know, the dog's kind of freaking out down there. It's funny now that I look at this. On the cover, if you look at the games, none of them are a Ouija board game. They're just random games. Oh, but the Ouija board is buried inside of the book, because they know parents are going to see a red flag if you stick it on the cover, but if you bury it, the kids can see it and the parents have no idea. So anyway, page 96, they are sitting here playing with that. A scholastic book. This isn't some cryptic, weird book that some creepy person gave to her. This is a scholastic book. Judy Moody. Seems like such a harmless kids thing, but then I have to go explain about Ouija boards. It's just insane to me. So I started going through some more of her books, and I realized for a while she had been complaining about rules. She kept saying she hated rules, all this stuff. Well, I find this other book, again, another kids one. I personally would never buy this for anybody, and that's the thing. We didn't buy it for her. Family did. And so, it's like, this is called I Hate Rules. Okay, well, that explains it. There's this one called Friends for Never, and I just don't like the look on that girl's face. Actually, none of the girls' faces throughout this whole thing. I just don't see why you have to encourage this bratty sassiness. And another weird part, I was flipping through and I noticed this picture and I thought, okay, what is this girl kissing this girl for? And I went to read it, and it was somebody's little sister who was excited to see the friend. And so really, in the context of the book, it was harmless. It didn't seem to have any kind of agenda, but I thought it was peculiar that in the context of the story, the little girl having this big kiss and enjoying it or whatever to the other one really makes no sense in the context of what's happening in the story. And even if for whatever reason they wanted to leave it in there to show the dynamic of the friendships, I didn't see a need for that to be a pulled out illustrated picture the way some other bigger events in the book should be. So it's hard. It's really hard. I would look at this and say, I really don't like the facial expressions. Maybe let's find a different book. But I can see why a well-meaning family member would say, oh, you want that book? It's a kid's book. Little girls, they have, colorful outfits, clips in their hair. Sure, go ahead. And we are in such a battle. Such a battle. It drives me nuts. The main reason I am sharing this with you is to remind you of the importance of knowing what your children are consuming, knowing what books they're reading, what apps they're on, what TV shows they're watching, getting familiar with it, asking them questions, and then not just asking them questions, but going and looking at it yourself. It takes a lot of time, and especially if you have other children, there's not a lot of time to sit there and watch every single movie, but you can find some trusted sources who will give you lists of books that they approve or things that they do. And that's what's really hard. I quickly researched some of these books online, just doing a quick Google search to look at reviews, and a lot of them got fantastic reviews, but then you'll look and you'll see 1 or 2 negative comments that do share the Christian perspective. Because I guess if you were a secular person, these may not bother you at all. But if you are a practicing Catholic, this stuff is a big deal. So you have to be aware of it. You have to constantly be fighting for your kids. That's our job as parents, to protect them, to love them, to guide them, to show them the truth. I know one thing that people usually say to be critical of people who do try to be very involved with the content that their children are consuming. They often say, well, you're gonna leave your house and read the book anyway, so you shouldn't be too strict because you wouldn't want them to rebel in the future. And of course you don't want them to rebel. Nobody does. But as parents, our job is to lead them and show them the truth, especially as a stepmom. When you know that the child is going to a completely different family with completely different values, religion, everything is totally different, and that child may be exposed to things that you would never dream of exposing your child to, but you're helpless because they have to go with other people. It can be tempting to be complacent, but it's very important that you still don't, because although you can't control what they do when they leave your house, you can control what happens inside of your house. And if you set that example, if you show them what we accept in our home, what we tolerate, what's okay, what's good, what's holy, and then they leave and they choose to do wrong, choose to do the thing you didn't want them to do, over time, they will begin to see a distinct difference between that stuff and the stuff that takes place in your home. The stuff that you do versus the thing that those people do. And it's not going to be an instant thing. It's going to be a big picture, over time, years down the road thing that they may not even tell you that they realized. But it's still very important to protect your home, to protect your family, and to do what's right, sharing the truth. Even though you know that they may go out and rebel, ultimately you need to provide them with a very solid foundation, because the chances are they probably will fall away. That's just human nature. It's what we do. We see it in the Bible. We see it in ourselves. All the times that we defy our parents, defy God. But as long as they know what is good and true, they have that solid foundation to fall back on down the road. You have to set the precedent of what is right and morally good in your home so that they can identify right and wrong. They're not going to be able to make a very clear distinction, especially at a young age, between right and wrong if there's no difference between what goes on in your home and what goes on in the world or at friends' homes. I sincerely hope that this video serves as a reminder for you to continue what you're doing, forming good habits, morals, and values in your children. It all starts at home. Out of anywhere in the entire world, your home is the place where your child is going to be set up for success, to best find God, to best know to love Him, to best learn who He is, and how to open their heart up to accepting Him in their life. They're gonna go out, things are gonna happen, they're gonna come across things that you probably don't want them to see, or activities you don't want them to do or partake in. But your job as a parent isn't to be their buddy, isn't to do what everybody else is doing. It's to show them the truth, to share your faith with them, to lead them, to guide them, to educate them. Share why you don't believe certain things, especially as they come into their teenage years. At younger ages, sometimes no just has to mean no. You don't have to give. a big explanation for every single thing you do. It's just impossible to keep up with. I've tried. Please be assured that I am praying for all of you who watch this video, your families, especially your children, and for the strength for you as a parent to lead them and guide them as best as you can. So just make sure you're involved, and remember, as hard as it is, it's going to be a constant battle, but it's a battle worth fighting. I'm going to go look through some more of our children's books that we were gifted and that I hadn't really gone through yet, and I'm going to eliminate the things that don't line up with what our morals and values are as a family, and I encourage you to do the same. Any ideas on how to find age-appropriate book suggestions that also align with our Catholic faith, I would love to hear them, so please list those down below if you can think of any. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you are looking for some more visual book cleaning inspiration, I'm sure some of the other ladies with this collaboration have done so. So check out their channels. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.